Welcome to a world with limitless possibilities. A world where pain and suffering are matched only by the sounds of those who endure it. Welcome to your nightmare.
Welcome to your nightmare.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Nightmare. Before we get into tonight's stories, I want to take time out to give a huge thank you and shout out to John Grills of Creepy for giving my show a shout out on his podcast. He and his team do an amazing job at creating horror stories for everyone to listen to. And he's also the reason I started podcasting and my inspiration for continuing to do so. So, thank you, John. So if you haven't done so already, check out the podcast, Creepy, and make sure to give them a listen. And don't forget to rate and review. But before you go to their show, let's continue with ours first. For tonight's tale, I have two stories for you, both of which were written by Let's Split Up on Reddit No Sleep. The first story is about a man who lives in a neighborhood that he wants to clean up, and he sees an opportunity and jumps all over it. This story is called I Found a Solution to Dealing with the Homeless Problem in My Neighborhood. It all started when Sally moved in. I live in the uptown neighborhood of a metro area. Used to be really swanky back before the liberals took over. My next door neighbor, Cardinal, is a typical bleeding heart who's too nice for her own good. And that's how she wound up with a tent pitched on her land. She claims she doesn't mind, maybe because her yard is kind of a mess anyways. Among the rainbow flags and overgrown vegetables and all the kid toys scattered around, there's also lots of weeds and random rocks and shit. She tells me how she finds these pretty crystals by the river. They're literally just white rocks. But as neighbors go, she's alright. Gives me tomatoes from her garden and always invites me for a bite when she grills. She has a bad back, so to return the favor, I shovel her sidewalk in the winter. We've always been cordial, neighborly. But you know what's not neighborly? Inviting a bum to pitch a tent in your backyard for weeks. I made the mistake of being friendly about it when I first noticed the colorful nylon. Kids camping outside? I asked.
Oh, that's my friend Sally. She's just staying a few days till she gets back on her feet.
Uh-huh. The storm clouds must have been clear on my brow because Cardinal kept talking.
It's just a few days, Frank. She lost her job, but she'll find a place. She's a good woman.
A few days, huh? Well, a few weeks later, the tent was starting to look like Sally's permanent residence. It was getting more elaborate, piles of junk around it that the frumpy, weathered-looking woman claimed were things she planned on selling to earn a little income. Sally claimed to be an artist, making small sculptures out of found objects. She told me, I take other people's junk and I make it into something beautiful. Do you have a favorite animal? I could make one for you, if you like, for your yard. Why would I put garbage in my yard? I asked her how her search for housing was going. She sighed, getting teary-eyed, and told me in her nervous, mousy way that her social worker was trying, but everything was full. The city didn't seem inclined to do anything either when I called them to complain. It's the kind of progressive city that lets people grow native plants, i.e., let the weeds take over everything, and doesn't require mowing and gets rid of loitering laws to allow indigents to hang out smoking and drinking wherever they please. It seemed like I was just stuck with this tent and that whole goddamn menagerie of garbage animals. Then one day I came across the junk man. I'd seen signs up all over the neighborhood. Junk man. We'll take any junk. Call 1-800-666-7734. Once in a while from afar, I'd glimpse a stooped, rather decrepit figure cart off old bikes, tires, partially destroyed fences. What the junkman got from all this, I have no idea. There was no fee listed, strangest thing. Anyway, one day I spotted that tattered figure putting up signs on a telephone pole, and I called out jokingly, "Hey, I got some junk you can take out," sticking my thumb toward the tent with its menagerie of found object sculptures. The junkman turned to look at me over a bony shoulder. That was when I realized he was actually a she, with wild gray hair and ruby red lips. Her head almost turned like an owl's. Like I'd swear it was about to keep turning on that turkey neck like a screw. And then her eyes shifted to the tent. She asked in a raspy voice, "The art or the artist?" I chuckled. "Well, if you can take the artist, please do. Been mucking up my view for a month now." She nodded. "Hey, how come you call yourself the Junkman if you're a woman?"
Better for business. No one will call an old woman to haul junk.
Fair enough. Fast forward a few days, I heard my neighbor outside calling and calling for Sally. Apparently the artist had vanished, seemingly into thin air, but had left all her stuff, including the tent. Honestly, I assumed that Sally had gotten worried about the winter and moved on, leaving poor Cardinal with the mess to clean up. I asked Cardinal if we should try calling the junkman to deal with the tent. Cheaper than renting a dumpster.
Oh my gosh, was she around here? I kept tearing down her posters. She's bad news. Haven't you heard the rumors? I don't like to speak ill of people, but my friend Joan, she said her ex-boyfriend hated her dog and asked the junkman to take it. The next day, it disappeared. She'll take anything. They say she uses some of her witchcraft and takes a piece of your soul in exchange for disappearing the junk. There's all these extra terms and conditions written in invisible ink on her flyers. Look at them under the blacklight if you want to freak yourself out.
What? I asked. I didn't really believe any of this. I assumed it was just coincidence that Sally had vanished, even though the junkman left me a little gift. It was a small found object sculpture of a deer, and attached to it was a card. "Thanks for your business, Junkman." What a creeper. After Cardinal cleared away the tent, I thought that would be the end of things, but her yard was still full of all those found objects. The most ostentatious, an eagle with discarded fan blades for the feathers of its lethal-looking metal wings, was poised as if about to swoop right up onto the porch. I asked her when she was planning to get rid of them, but she said they exuded Sally's spirit, and anyway, she could decorate her lawn how she wished. Well, I hadn't been planning to call the junkman, but the note had a number on the back of it, so I gave it a ring. I got the voicemail, telling me to leave a message explaining what junk I'd like removed, and that the fee was merely a small sliver of your soul. Hilarious. I left a voicemail about the artwork. It disappeared overnight. Whoa. I still thought her being a witch was a hokum, but her cleaning powers were impressive. And I mean, all I had to do was make a phone call. It was just so easy. I didn't mean to keep calling her, but I'd seen stuff around town, 2 doors down, an elderly couple that had rusted broken appliances outside their house that for some reason they'd never thrown out, made the whole street look bad. The junkmen took those away. A little further on, at the co-op where I did my shopping, panhandlers were always sitting outside with signs, hurting the local business and harassing customers for money, probably to feed their drug habits. What are people like that? But trash. I asked the junkmen to clean them up. Oh, new ones came in to take their place, but I wished them away too. I got rid of graffiti, dog owners who didn't pick up their dog's shit, and even a gang of Kia-stealing teens terrorizing the neighborhood. One quick phone call and boom, no more stolen cars. Each time I'd receive another of those horrible found object sculptures, always with a note attached thanking me for my business. Everything was great, until yesterday. See, yesterday, my neighbor Cardinal knocked on my door to confront me. In her hand was a small sculpture of a dog. It took me a moment to realize she'd picked it up off my front step, and that attached to it was the Junkman's usual card.
The Junkman? You've been calling the Junkman. Why does she leave Sally's sculptures for you as a calling card? Did you call her about Sally? Are you the reason Sally disappeared? I'm keeping the sculpture, something to remember her, seeing as all of the other art I had of hers out in my yard has gone missing, along with so many other things. I guess we're junk. To you.
Now hang on. But she stormed off my porch, the dog sculpture in hand. Over her shoulder, she shouted,
Whatever happens, you brought this on yourself.
I rushed back inside and dialed the number. I had to, didn't I? She had the card. If she called first, if she called and told the Junkman to take me. When I hung up, I sighed, my heart thumping and my chest tight, empty. But it was her or me. I had to do it. The next morning, I was sitting on my porch when one of the Cardinal kids came bouncing out and off to the school bus as if everything were normal. Shit. I totally forgot about her children. But then a few minutes later, I saw Cardinal herself. Her lips thinned when she noticed me, and she looked away and overtly ignored me, still pissed at me, and also still very much not disappeared. Why had the Junkman not taken her away? I called, leaving several messages. Finally, on my 5th call, I was surprised when a raspy voice actually answered. I immediately demanded to know if my previous messages had been received.
Your messages were received,
said the raspy voice. So, what's going on? Did Cardinal call first and ask you to junk me?
She has never called this number, and never will,
replied the raspy voice. Okay, well, can I ask why you didn't carry out my request?
You have insufficient currency,
said the voice matter-of-factly. Wait, but there's no charge, I exclaimed, suddenly indignant at new fees I was just now hearing about. But even as I said it, I remembered the phrase that I dismissed each time I heard over the voicemail. And now the person on the other end was chuckling and kept chuckling deeper and deeper. It didn't sound like an old woman's voice at all. Didn't sound remotely human, as it explained.
There is a charge. Each transaction has a small cost. You have made a number of transactions, and now have insufficient currency.
The voice trailed off now into peals of terrible, awful laughter, and I slammed the phone down. And now here I am, wondering, how do I earn back my currency? Is there any way to reverse the charges? If each time the fee was a small sliver of your soul, what does that mean when she tells me I have insufficient currency? I'd hate to cross her. Let's keep moving on. Our next story, again, is written by Let's Split Up on Reddit No Sleep. This story is called My House is Empty, but my friend who is deaf and blind insists someone is here. They say seeing is believing, but if I'd followed that advice, I'd be dead now. It was a deaf-blind friend who first told me there was someone in the house with me. I scoffed. I didn't believe him. I looked out across the wide, open, empty living room. I looked upstairs in the den and the spare bedroom and out at the patio and in the kitchen. It was just the two of us. But my friend Will insisted. While he was sitting on the base of the stairs, tracing his fingers along the ornate sculpted banister, I went upstairs to grab something from the den. He felt another set of footsteps on the stairs after mine, following me up. He told me afterward in sign language when we sat down at the table for tea. Then he asked me who else was here. I chuckled, my fingers tickling his leg in laughter, and told him he must have imagined it. But he claimed he could smell them. When I asked him to describe the smell, he said it smelled bad. A sort of garbage smell, someone who needed a bath or hung out in the trash. Maybe my trash needed to go out, I said, and insisted it was just us. Are you sure? He and I were supposed to be working on the script for a game we were developing together. But he interrupted my suggestions to exclaim, "There, do you smell it?" I didn't smell a thing, nor did I see anyone in the living room with us. Does your nose actually work, or is it just for decoration on your face? Will burst, exasperated. When I dropped him back off at his apartment later, after we'd finished our work together, as he was getting out of the car, he warned me again that I definitely have another person hiding somewhere in my home. His hands described the feel to me. 2 fingers of his right hand walking up my arm toward my shoulder. 2 fingers of his left following just behind. Softer. Then he tapped his hand along my arm, showing me the feel of the vibration. First heavier, more solid. My steps. And then lighter, but still palpable. The second set of steps following mine and vibrating the wooden stairs. I patted his arm in affirmation and told him I'd search the house when I got home. "Be careful," he said, his signing emphatically slow. He gave my arm a final squeeze before tapping his way to the front of his building with his white cane. I looked under the sink, in the closets, in the cupboards, in the spare bedroom. I even bought a camera and set it up, but all I captured overnight was myself sleepwalking. I vaguely remembered walking on the staircase and returning to bed. Other than that, the motion capture didn't turn on. According to the video, I was alone in my house. Still, the next morning I couldn't stop thinking about what he'd said. It said that if you lose one sense, your others become sharper to compensate. But what if the reverse is also true? Was my reliance on my eyes causing my brain to shut out my other senses? What if I tried closing my eyes? It seemed silly. Even so, on a whim, that evening I went around the house wearing a blindfold. I was feeling my way through the kitchen, filling a glass with water from the sink when I felt the presence of someone. I couldn't pinpoint why. I just had the sense of not being alone. The hairs on my neck rose, and suddenly I was absolutely certain someone was coming up behind me. I snatched the blindfold off. Just me. Still, the feeling lingered for a moment, those goosebumps persisting on my arms. I put the blindfold back on and puttered around in the kitchen for a while. It was then I noticed a smell, like rotten meat, like unwashed flesh, spoiled and awful, and it was so faint, just wafting occasionally. The hair on the nape of my neck stood up. I went upstairs, trying to follow the smell, but I lost it almost immediately when I went into my den. I came back downstairs, my fingers lightly tracing the wall. I stopped because I felt footsteps behind me. Felt the soft reverberation on the wooden staircase. Just a beat after my own. It was just like Will had described to me. Someone was here, right behind me. I felt cold breath on my ear. I tore off the blindfold and whirled around. The staircase was empty. That night, as I lay in bed, I had trouble drifting to sleep. I was afraid of what might happen overnight. And sure enough, I woke up on the stairs, sleepwalking, But instead of returning to bed, I tried to keep myself in that dreamy state, and I held my eyes closed. My arm was cold. It took me a moment to realize that someone was holding my hand. A touch of icy fingers drawing me forward. Those dead fingers leading me up the stairs. Every instinct told me to tear my hand away and run. But I let the dead hand guide me up until I was on the landing. The rotten smell made my eyes water as the door to the spare bedroom opened. An overwhelming sense of dread made it hard to breathe as the hand guided me across the room. Then my fingers touched the cool handle to the balcony door and pushed the door open, fresh air gusting around me. I yanked back, terror shooting through me, and rushed for the light switch. I was alone again. I'm now looking for a new place to live. Will's right. I'm not alone. And my life is in danger every night I stay here. I've got to get out as soon as I can. But my budget is tight, and housing is scarce in this area. So until I find a place, I've installed a bolt on the balcony doors and moved a heavy bookcase in front of them, and I've locked that spare bedroom. You see, I did some research and found out that the tenant who lived here before me died by hanging himself from the balcony of the upstairs bedroom. Before him, there was an old woman who lived here with her daughter, and the daughter was also found hanging. In fact, I don't know how many people before me have died here, seemingly by taking their own lives. The house is now reported to be haunted because no one's ever seen a ghost. But every day, I feel someone in the house with me, their footsteps treading just behind mine. And every night, those dead fingers take my hand and try to lead me out to the balcony. That is all for tonight's episode, and I want to thank all the current and new listeners that have joined the show. And if you haven't done so already, please rate and review our show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And as always, if you have any suggestions, please reach out to me at nightmarepod@gmail.com. And until next time,
Sleep well.